Have you ever met someone who didn't have to say much, yet the whole room seemed drawn to them? Someone who carried an invisible magnetism that made people listen, respect, and remember them? That's charisma. And here's the truth. It's not reserved for world leaders, celebrities, or natural-born speakers. It's a skill you can learn, master, and live. Welcome to Charisma Mastery. How to influence without trying too hard. In this audiobook, we're going to uncover what truly makes people magnetic. You'll learn how to build presence that makes others feel valued, confidence that inspires trust, likability that opens hearts, and natural authority that earns respect, without forcing or faking it. By the end, you won't just know about charisma. You'll become effortlessly charismatic. And with simple, actionable steps in every chapter, you'll transform the way people see you, connect with you, and respond to you in both personal and professional life. So get ready, because your journey to unlocking natural influence and presence begins now. Before we dive in, we've noticed that most people who listen to our audiobooks never subscribe to the channel. So do me and yourself a favor. Like this video, share it with someone who's ready to grow, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss more empowering content designed to help you grow. Chapter 1: Understanding Charisma. Close your eyes for a moment and think about the most charismatic person you've ever seen. Maybe it was a leader giving a powerful speech, a teacher who made learning exciting, or even someone you met at a party who made you feel like the only person in the room. What made them so magnetic? Was it their perfect smile? Their good looks? Or maybe it was something deeper, something harder to explain but impossible to ignore. That mysterious quality is what we call charisma. And in this chapter, we're going to break it down piece by piece, so that by the end, you'll realize charisma isn't a gift given to a few lucky people. It's a skill you can learn, practice, and master. Debunking the myths about charisma. For a long time, people believed that charisma was something you were born with. The myth goes, some people just have the spark, and the rest of us don't. But science tells us otherwise. Charisma isn't about being the loudest person in the room, or the best looking, or even the smartest. It's not about wearing expensive clothes or memorizing slick one-liners. Charisma is about how you make other people feel in your presence. The author Olivia Fox Caban in her book The Charisma Myth put it beautifully when she said, "Charisma is the result of specific behaviors, not an innate or magical personal quality." That means charisma can be broken down into practical skills. And if it can be broken down, it can be learned. The psychology of influence and human attraction. Let's get into the psychology behind charisma. Why are we drawn to some people instantly, while others fade into the background? Humans are wired to respond to confidence, warmth, and presence. When someone speaks with calm authority, we feel safe. When someone shows genuine interest in us, we feel valued. When someone seems fully engaged in the moment, we feel connected. Think about it. Have you ever had a conversation with someone who kept looking at their phone, nodding half-heartedly while you spoke? Compare that to a person who looked you in the eyes, listened carefully, and responded thoughtfully. Which one felt more charismatic? Charisma works because it taps into our deepest human needs, the need to feel respected, understood, and important. Let's take a look at history. One world leader who embodied charisma was Queen Rania of Jordan. She wasn't just admired for her beauty. Her real strength was her ability to speak with warmth and intelligence about issues that mattered to people. Whether addressing children, business leaders, or global audiences, she had a way of making complex issues feel human and urgent. Her charisma came not from perfection, but from connection. Another example is John F. Kennedy. His speeches didn't only communicate ideas, they stirred emotions. He spoke with optimism, painting vivid pictures of a better future. People didn't just listen to his words, they felt them. That's charisma, the ability to turn communication into inspiration. And then there's Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand. She showed the world that charisma isn't always about booming speeches. Sometimes it's about empathy, about showing compassion in moments of crisis. Her calm yet caring approach during national tragedies earned her respect and trust worldwide. These leaders remind us that charisma comes in many forms: energy, storytelling, or even gentle empathy. The common thread? They made people feel seen, heard, and inspired. Why charisma is a skill, not a gift. Here's the truth. Nobody is born knowing how to walk into a room and command attention. Nobody is born knowing how to tell stories that capture hearts. These are learned behaviors. Think of charisma like playing a musical instrument. At first, it feels awkward. But with practice, you learn the notes, the rhythm, the flow. Soon, what once felt forced becomes natural. The same is true for charisma. You can train yourself to maintain eye contact, to speak with a balanced tone, to listen with genuine curiosity, and to project calm confidence. With consistent practice, these skills stop feeling like techniques and start becoming a part of who you are. The action step. Now it's your turn. Think of one charismatic person you admire. It could be a leader, a mentor, or even a friend. Write down 3 qualities that make them stand out. Is it their confidence? Their storytelling ability? Their kindness? Their humor? Once you've written these qualities down, keep them somewhere visible, on a sticky note in your journal, or even on your phone's lock screen. Every time you prepare to meet someone new or enter a conversation, remind yourself, I can practice these same qualities today. Remember, charisma is not about becoming someone else. It's about amplifying the best parts of yourself. Key takeaways for you. Charisma is not about looks or charm. It's about how you make others feel in your presence. Science shows charisma is a skill. Specific behaviors like presence, warmth, and confidence can be practiced. Different leaders express charisma differently. From empathy to storytelling, charisma wears many faces. You can build charisma step by step. Start by identifying and practicing the qualities you admire in others. Here's the most important lesson of this chapter. You already have the potential for charisma within you. You don't need to pretend to be someone else, and you don't need to try too hard. The secret is learning the behaviors that unlock influence, behaviors that make people feel respected, valued, and inspired when they are around you. By the time we finish this audiobook, you'll have a complete roadmap on how to become effortlessly charismatic, someone who influences not by force, but by presence. So take that first action step today. Choose the qualities you admire and practice them. One small change can make a big difference in how people respond to you. If you're finding this audiobook valuable so far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us reach more people and continue creating powerful content to guide you on your journey of self-improvement. Now, let's move into Chapter 2, where we'll talk about the science of presence, the foundation of all charisma. Chapter 2, the science of presence. Have you ever met someone who walks into a room and instantly commands attention? Not because they are the loudest, the tallest, or the most flamboyant, but because they are simply present? Their presence feels magnetic. You feel drawn to listen, to engage, and even to trust them, often without fully understanding why. That is the science of presence. Presence is not about talking more, it is not about having the fanciest clothes, and it is not even about social status. Presence is about giving the gift of your full attention to the moment and to the people in front of you. In fact, presence is the foundation of charisma. Without presence, charisma becomes performance. With presence, charisma becomes authentic influence. Why presence is the foundation of charisma? Think about the leaders, mentors, or even friends who made the greatest impact on your life. Chances are, they were not always the most knowledgeable or the most powerful. Instead, they were people who made you feel seen, heard, and valued. Let me tell you about a notable world leader, Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand. She became widely respected not because of her speeches alone, but because of her remarkable ability to be fully present with people. Whether she was speaking with grieving families after a tragedy or addressing young students in a small classroom, she leaned in, listened deeply, and responded with empathy. People often said that when she spoke to them, it felt like they were the only person in the world. That is presence at its purest form. Presence communicates respect. It communicates confidence. And most importantly, it communicates that the other person matters. Attention, focus, and energy. Presence has three main ingredients: attention, focus, and energy. Attention. When you give someone your attention, you are saying, "You matter right now." It means putting your phone down, looking into their eyes, and truly noticing what they are expressing, not just with their words, but with their emotions. Focus. Presence is focus sharpened like a laser. Think of Angela Merkel, the former German chancellor. She was known for her calm, focused listening style. In international meetings, leaders respected her not because she spoke the most, but because when she listened, it was with such intensity that people felt compelled to share openly. She didn't scatter her focus across the room. She directed it fully to the person she was engaging with. That made her influence profound. Energy. Presence is not just about sitting quietly and staring. It is about the energy you bring into the moment. Dalai Lama once said, "When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new." His energy, warmth, and smile make people feel uplifted even before he speaks. That energy is presence in action. When attention, focus, and energy come together, people feel not just acknowledged, but deeply valued. And here's the truth. People rarely remember everything you say, but they always remember how you made them feel. The science behind it. Neuroscience shows us that human brains are wired for connection. When someone gives us their full attention, our brain releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. This makes us feel safe and connected. Think about this. In a world where distractions are everywhere, constant phone notifications, endless scrolling, and fragmented conversations, presence has become rare. And what is rare is valuable. This is why presence instantly makes you stand out and become more charismatic without trying too hard. Imagine you are in a group conversation. One person is half listening while scrolling on their phone. Another is waiting impatiently for their turn to speak. But then there is the person who nods at the right time, who holds eye contact, and who asks thoughtful follow-up questions. Who do you walk away remembering? It's always the person who was present. This is why presence is the foundation of influence. People are drawn to those who make them feel significant. Action step: practicing active listening. So how do you build presence in your daily life? The answer is simple but powerful: active listening. Active listening means listening with the intent to understand, not the intent to reply. Here's how you practice it. In your next conversation, silence the urge to plan your response while the other person is speaking. Nod, maintain comfortable eye contact, and give verbal cues like, "I see," or "That makes sense." After they finish, reflect back one thing they said. For example, "So what you're saying is you felt overlooked in that meeting?" This simple exercise shifts the focus away from yourself and onto the person in front of you. Do this for one full conversation every day, and you'll notice something amazing. People will start enjoying talking to you more, they'll open up to you, and they'll start respecting your presence. Key takeaways for you. Presence is the foundation of charisma. Without presence, everything else feels forced. Presence is built on three ingredients: attention, focus, and energy. Leaders like Jacinda Ardern and Angela Merkel demonstrated that presence isn't about speaking more, but about listening deeply. Neuroscience proves that attention creates connection. People will always remember how you made them feel. Action step: practice active listening in one full conversation daily. I want you to think about your next interaction, whether it's with a colleague, a family member, or even the cashier at the store. Treat it as a training ground for presence. Even if it's only for 2 minutes, practice putting away distractions, looking at the person, and listening with your full attention. That simple practice is what separates charismatic people from everyone else. Remember, presence is not about perfection. It is about progress. Every time you choose to be fully present, you are building your charisma muscle. If you're finding this audiobook valuable so far, I'd like to invite you to take one small action right now, like share and subscribe to this channel. By doing that, you're not only helping this message reach more people who want to grow, but you're also committing to your own journey of self-improvement. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we'll uncover the hidden power of first impressions and how to make them work in your favor. Chapter 3: The Power of First Impressions. Imagine walking into a room filled with strangers. You haven't said a single word yet, but every pair of eyes has already begun forming an opinion about you. They notice your posture, your expression, the way you carry yourself, and within a matter of seconds, 7 seconds to be precise, they've created a mental snapshot of who you are. This impression, once formed, is difficult to erase. First impressions are powerful, and they can either open doors or quietly close them before you even realize it. In this chapter, we'll break down why those first few moments matter so much, how you can use them to your advantage, and the simple, actionable steps you can take to ensure your presence speaks before your words do. The psychology of the first 7 seconds. Psychologists have found that humans are hardwired to make rapid judgments. In just 7 seconds, or sometimes even less, people decide whether they trust you, whether you're confident, and whether they even want to continue engaging with you. Think about it. When you meet someone for the first time, don't you instantly feel something about them before they even say hello? That's the subconscious at work. Our brains scan for signals, body language, facial expression, tone, and energy, and create a story about the person. The writer Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Blink, explains this phenomenon as thin slicing, our ability to make quick judgments based on limited information. Gladwell shows that these snap impressions are not random. They are rooted in subtle but powerful cues. That means you don't have to leave them to chance. You can shape them with intention. Nonverbal cues that speak louder than words. Words are important, but in those first seconds, they don't carry the most weight. What matters is how you show up. 3 nonverbal cues dominate first impressions: posture, eye contact, and tone of voice. Posture. Your posture silently communicates volumes. Standing tall with your shoulders back signals confidence, while slouching or folding into yourself suggests insecurity or disinterest. A world leader like Angela Merkel was often noted for her calm, upright stance that conveyed authority and steadiness even before she spoke. People trusted her presence because her posture radiated assurance. Eye contact. The eyes are called the windows to the soul for a reason. Maintaining steady, natural eye contact shows confidence and attentiveness. On the other hand, avoiding it can make you appear distracted or untrustworthy. Think of leaders who step onto global stages and make direct eye contact with their audience. Immediately, they create connection without uttering a single word. Tone of voice. Before you even finish your first sentence, people judge the quality of your voice. A warm, steady tone conveys approachability and strength. A rushed or monotone voice, on the other hand, may leave you overlooked. Consider someone like Jacinda Ardern, who is admired for her calm yet firm vocal tone. It makes her approachable while still authoritative. Why first impressions stick? Once people form an impression, they filter everything else they see through that lens. If they perceive you as confident and kind in the first few seconds, they're more likely to interpret everything else you do positively. This is known as the halo effect. On the other hand, if you stumble through your entrance with nervous energy, it takes a lot of effort to reverse that impression. Think of leaders like Abraham Lincoln. When he rose to prominence, his tall frame and dignified posture played as much of a role in shaping his first impression as his speeches did. His presence softened people's doubts about his unconventional background. His first impression lingered long after introductions. How to master the first 7 seconds. Now let's get personal. Imagine you're about to walk into a networking event, a job interview, or even a family gathering where you'll meet someone important for the first time. How do you prepare? Check your posture before you enter. Stand tall, shoulders back, chin slightly lifted, not in arrogance but in confidence. Imagine you are already welcome in the room. Breathe and center yourself. A deep breath before stepping in resets your nerves and projects calmness. Smile genuinely. A smile isn't just an expression. It's a universal signal of friendliness and openness. People instinctively relax around someone who smiles. Eye contact in the first moment. Don't stare, but give enough steady attention to signal you're engaged. Your greeting matters. Whether it's a handshake, a nod, or a verbal hello, deliver it with clarity and warmth. Here's a challenge I want you to try this week. Record yourself walking into a room, greeting an imaginary audience. Watch closely. How's your posture? Do you appear confident? Is your smile natural or forced? Does your greeting sound rushed or calm? Then refine. Practice until your presence feels effortless. It may feel awkward at first, but this exercise is transformative. Over time, your body will internalize these habits, and charisma will flow naturally. Let me share a story about a leader who mastered this skill. Consider Mikhail Gorbachev, the former Soviet leader. When he first appeared on the world stage, many were struck not by what he said, but how he carried himself. His posture was open, his expression approachable, and his voice steady. That first impression distinguished him from the rigid leaders before him and set the tone for how others engaged with him. This shows us that it's not just about words, it's about presence. People remember how you made them feel in those first few seconds. Key takeaways for you. First impressions are made in 7 seconds or less. Nonverbal cues, posture, eye contact, and tone of voice matter more than words. Presence shapes perception, and perception shapes opportunities. By practicing intentional entry, you can influence how others see you before you even speak. Charisma doesn't require theatrics. It's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's about showing up with quiet confidence, warmth, and presence. The more intentional you are in those first few seconds, the more effortlessly influential you will become. So the next time you step into a room, remember, you don't just walk in, you arrive. Let your posture, your eyes, and your voice introduce you before your words do. If you found this chapter valuable, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you'll stay connected to more life-changing lessons that will help you grow your charisma, influence, and self-mastery. Remember, sharing this could be the reason someone else learns how to transform their presence too. Chapter 4: The Language of the Body. When you walk into a room, you speak long before you ever open your mouth. Your body tells a story. It tells people whether you are confident or uncertain, open or closed, trustworthy or suspicious. And here's the truth. In human communication, body language speaks louder than words. Studies suggest that as much as 55% of communication is nonverbal, while tone of voice takes another 38%, leaving actual words with only about 7%. In other words, people are not just listening to what you say, they are watching how you say it. So, let's dive deep into the language of the body, the silent yet powerful force that can make you instantly magnetic or forgettable. The power of open gestures. Think about a charismatic leader giving a speech. Notice how they never cross their arms defensively. Instead, they use open gestures, palms facing the audience, hands slightly apart, arms relaxed. One remarkable example is Queen Elizabeth II. While her words were carefully chosen, her posture and movements conveyed calm dignity. She never needed to shout to command attention. Her subtle gestures, a small wave, a gentle tilt of the head, a soft but steady smile, projected warmth and authority at the same time. Open gestures tell people, I have nothing to hide. I am approachable. You are safe in my presence. When your hands are visible and your stance is open, people instinctively trust you more. Why? Because for thousands of years, hidden hands meant danger, a weapon, a threat. Visible hands mean safety. Mirroring, the silent connection. Another powerful element of body language is mirroring, subtly reflecting the posture, tone, or gestures of the person you're speaking with. This doesn't mean copying them like a mime. That feels fake and uncomfortable. Instead, mirroring is about syncing your energy with theirs. If they lean in slightly, you lean in a bit too. If they slow their speech, you relax your pace. World leaders often use this technique during negotiations. For example, former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was known for mirroring body language during diplomatic meetings. This helped create rapport even when conversations were tense. By physically reflecting the posture of another leader, he sent a nonverbal message. I understand you. I'm with you. Mirroring makes people feel seen. And when people feel seen, they naturally feel connected to you. Confidence in movement. Confidence isn't just in what you say, it's in how you move. Consider Angela Merkel, the former German chancellor. She wasn't loud, flamboyant, or dramatic. Yet, she carried herself with such steady composure that she became one of the most respected leaders of her time. Her walk was measured, her gestures economical, her posture upright. Even her trademark diamond-shaped hand gesture, simple, calm, symmetrical, became a symbol of stability and control. Confident movement is slow, deliberate, and purposeful. When you rush, fidget, or shuffle, you project nervousness. But when you move with ease, you signal to everyone around you, I know who I am. I belong here. Eliminating nervous habits. Let's be honest, we all have nervous habits. Some people bite their lips, others play with their hair, tap their fingers, or jiggle their legs. The problem is, these small habits broadcast anxiety and insecurity, even when your words are strong. Imagine you're having a conversation with someone who constantly glances at the floor, fiddles with their pen, or keeps shifting their weight from foot to foot. Do you feel that they're confident? Do you trust their authority? Probably not. One way to eliminate nervous habits is to replace them with grounding habits. For example, instead of tapping your fingers, interlace your hands gently in front of you. Instead of pacing back and forth, plant your feet shoulder-width apart. Instead of crossing your arms, rest your palms lightly on your lap or table. Every nervous tic has a confident alternative. The key is awareness. Action step for you. Here's your assignment. Pick one body language cue and practice it daily. For example, choose open palms. Each time you talk today, consciously keep your palms visible instead of hidden. Or pick relaxed stance. Stand tall, shoulders back, feet grounded, instead of slouching or fidgeting. Small, consistent practice rewires your body language until confidence becomes your natural state. The science behind body language. In his classic book, The Definitive Book of Body Language, Alan Pease explains that our nonverbal signals shape how people perceive us more than our words ever can. He writes, "The body never lies." This is crucial. You can memorize a powerful speech, but if your body signals fear or dishonesty, your words will fall flat. Conversely, even simple words spoken with congruent, confident body language can move people deeply. Think about your workplace or school. The person who gets noticed is rarely the one who talks the most. It's often the one who carries themselves with presence. The colleague who walks tall into a meeting, the classmate who smiles warmly before speaking, the friend who listens with steady eye contact. These people influence without trying too hard. You don't need to be rich, famous, or politically powerful. Charisma begins with how you use your body. Key takeaways for you. Open gestures build trust and make you approachable. Mirroring creates connection and rapport. Confident movement signals authority without arrogance. Eliminate nervous habits by replacing them with grounding habits. Practice one body language cue daily until it becomes second nature. Remember, body language is not about acting, it's about alignment. When your inner confidence and your outer presence match, people feel it. That's when charisma becomes effortless. So starting today, don't just speak your confidence, show it. Because the language of the body is the first language people ever learn, and it's still the most powerful one you have. If you found this chapter helpful, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who wants to grow in influence, and subscribe to this channel for more powerful lessons on charisma mastery. Together, we're building a community of people who don't just talk influence, they live it. Chapter 5, The Charismatic Voice. Welcome back, my friend. If you've been following along on this journey, you already know charisma isn't just about looks or status. It's about how you make people feel. And one of the most powerful tools to shape how people feel is your voice. Your voice is not just sound. It's energy. It's emotion. It's authority wrapped in tone. The words you speak are important, Yes, but research has shown that how you say something often matters more than what you say. The psychologist Albert Morabian, in his book Silent Messages, explains that when people are trying to decode whether they like or trust us, only 7% of the impact comes from words, 38% from tone of voice, and a striking 55% from body language. That means your voice carries over 5 times more weight than the words themselves. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you heard someone say the right words, but because of the way they said it, flat, rushed, or nervous, you didn't feel inspired or convinced? And on the other hand, how many times have you listened to someone speak so powerfully that even before you understood their words, you felt moved? That's the magic of the charismatic voice. Why voice tone matters more than words. When you enter a room or stand in front of an audience, your voice announces you before your message does. A warm, confident tone can make people lean in, while a cold, monotonous tone makes them drift away. Let's consider the example of Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand. During times of crisis, what made her stand out was not just the words of reassurance she offered, but the calm, steady, and empathetic tone with which she delivered them. People felt safe because her voice carried calmness and compassion. That's charisma in action. Or think of Martin Luther King Jr. His iconic, "I have a dream" speech wasn't just memorable because of the words, but because of the cadence, the rhythm, and the rising power in his delivery. The passion in his tone was like music, and it still inspires the world decades later. Your tone is your emotional fingerprint. It reveals your confidence, your conviction, and your care. Techniques to develop a charismatic voice. Now let's break down some techniques you can practice to strengthen your vocal presence. 1. The power of pauses. Many people fear silence when speaking. They rush their words, afraid the pause will make them look unprepared. But in reality, pauses create power. They give weight to your words and give your audience a chance to absorb what you're saying. Imagine a leader standing before a crowd, delivering a speech. They pause before making a key point. That silence creates anticipation, and when they finally speak, their words land with impact. Try this. Next time you speak, insert a pause before your most important point. You'll notice how people lean in, waiting for what comes next. 2. Emphasis. Not all words are equal. Some words carry the core of your message. When you emphasize them, through volume, tone, or elongation, you highlight their importance. Think of how speakers say words like freedom, hope, or together. The emphasis makes them stick in the listener's memory. 3. Warmth in the voice. Charisma isn't only about strength. It's about connection. A warm tone makes people feel cared for and welcomed. You can add warmth by slightly softening your tone, lowering your pitch, and smiling as you speak. Yes, smiling while you speak actually changes the sound of your voice. Try it. Record yourself reading a sentence with a neutral face, then again with a smile. The second one will sound more inviting. For clarity and pace, rushing through your words weakens your charisma. Speaking too slowly can bore your audience. The secret is variation. A charismatic voice dances. It slows down when explaining something deep, speeds up slightly when excitement is needed, and always stays clear enough to follow. One of the greatest communicators in modern leadership was John F. Kennedy. His speeches weren't just about eloquence. They had a deliberate rhythm. He used clarity and pacing to pull people in, sentence by sentence. Action step to take. Now let's make this practical. Here's an exercise I want you to do. Take your phone or any recording device. Speak for 60 seconds on a topic you care about, maybe your goals for the year, or a lesson you recently learned. While speaking, experiment with 3 things. Vary your pace, sometimes slow, sometimes quicker. Use emphasis. Choose 1 or 2 words to highlight strongly. Add warmth. Smile as you speak certain phrases. When you play it back, notice how your energy changes with these adjustments. Then, practice it again tomorrow and the next day. With repetition, you'll naturally sound more engaging. Key takeaways for you. Your tone speaks louder than your words. People decide how they feel about you based on how you sound, not just what you say. Pauses are power. They give gravity to your words and let your audience reflect. Emphasis creates memory. Highlighting key words makes your message unforgettable. Warmth builds connection. A smile in your voice makes people feel valued. Clarity and variation keep attention. A dynamic voice is never boring. Here's the truth. Your voice is your instrument. And like any instrument, it needs tuning and practice. You don't need to imitate someone else's style. The most charismatic voices are authentic. They reflect who you are, but with polish and intention. So start today. Practice your pauses. Add warmth. Record yourself and listen. You'll notice that with small improvements, your voice will begin to carry natural authority. You'll influence without pushing, and people will feel drawn to you, simply because your voice makes them feel something. If you found this chapter valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend who wants to improve their confidence. And if you're enjoying this audiobook, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss more tools to unlock your personal growth and influence. Your voice is your power. Use it well. Chapter 6: Emotional Intelligence and Likability. Imagine walking into a room full of people. You don't say a word yet, but people can already sense your energy. They can feel whether you're open, warm, and approachable, or closed off and distracted. This is the hidden power of emotional intelligence. It is not about manipulating others. It is about understanding emotions, both yours and theirs, and responding in a way that makes people feel valued. When we talk about charisma, many people immediately think of good looks, eloquent speech, or charm. But let me tell you the truth. The real key to likability and influence is your ability to connect emotionally. People may forget what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Understanding others' emotions. Emotional intelligence begins with awareness. It's about being able to sense the mood of the room, notice the subtle cues in someone's facial expression, or pick up on the hesitation in someone's voice. Think about it. Haven't you ever spoken to someone who seemed to really get you? You felt seen, understood, and respected. That's emotional intelligence at work. Let's look at an example. Consider Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand. She became globally recognized for her empathetic leadership during times of crisis. What made her stand out wasn't just her policies. It was her ability to step into people's shoes, acknowledge their pain, and respond with compassion. This is the heart of likability. When people feel that you truly understand their emotions, they naturally gravitate toward you. Another example is Angela Merkel, the former German chancellor. She wasn't flashy or loud, but she had a calm, empathetic presence. She listened carefully, often letting others speak first. She gained trust not because she was trying too hard, but because she had the emotional discipline to value the emotions of others. That quiet strength made her one of the most respected leaders of her time. Why likability is about making others feel valued. There is a simple truth. People like those who make them feel liked. Likability is not about being funny all the time or agreeing with everything others say. Instead, it is about making people feel that their opinions, experiences, and emotions matter. One of the best books on this subject is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Carnegie famously said, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you." What does this mean? Likability doesn't come from putting yourself in the spotlight. It comes from shining the light on others. Ask them questions. Show genuine interest. Be curious about their lives. When you do this sincerely, people naturally feel important in your presence, and that makes you magnetic. Think of former U.S. President Bill Clinton. Regardless of what people think of his politics, he was often described as someone who made you feel like the only person in the room when he was speaking with you. He listened deeply, remembered details, and responded with empathy. That ability to value others is what made his charisma unforgettable. The role of empathy in charisma. Empathy is more than just understanding someone's feelings. It's responding in a way that shows you care. This doesn't always mean you have to agree with them. It means you acknowledge their experience. For example, if a colleague is stressed about a project, a low empathy response would be, "Relax, it's not that big of a deal." But a high empathy response would be, "I can see this project is weighing on you. How can I support you?" The second response doesn't solve the problem immediately, but it makes the person feel understood and supported. That's the kind of emotional intelligence that makes people see you as likable and trustworthy. Action step: ask 2 genuine questions. Now let's make this practical. Here's your challenge for today. In your next interaction, ask 2 genuine questions that show interest in the other person. Not surface-level questions like, "How are you?" because most people will just say fine. Instead, dig a little deeper. For example, what has been the highlight of your week so far? What's something you're currently excited about? When you ask these kinds of questions, you open a door for meaningful conversation. And when you listen closely to the answers, you show that you truly care. This simple practice builds likability faster than any fancy trick. Let me share a universal scenario. Imagine 2 leaders in the workplace. One focuses only on tasks, deadlines, and numbers. The other focuses on the same things, but takes a few moments to connect personally, asking team members how they're feeling, thanking them for their contributions, and listening when someone raises a concern. Who do you think inspires loyalty? Who do people work harder for? The second one. Not because they're the smartest or strictest, but because they know how to make people feel valued. Key takeaways from this chapter. Emotional intelligence is the foundation of likability. Learn to recognize and respond to emotions in yourself and others. Likability is about making others feel important. People will remember how you made them feel far more than your words. Empathy is your secret weapon. Acknowledge people's experiences without judgment. Practical step. Ask 2 genuine questions in your next interaction that show interest in the other person. If you want to influence without trying too hard, remember this. Charisma is not about putting on a performance. It's about presence, empathy, and genuine curiosity about others. When you walk into a room, don't focus on how people see you. Focus on how people feel with you. Do they feel respected, valued, and heard? If yes, then you are already practicing true charisma. Now it's time to take action. As you move through your day, commit to this small practice. Listen more than you speak, ask thoughtful questions, and make someone feel important. That's how emotional intelligence transforms into natural likability, and that's how likability becomes influence. If you're finding this audiobook valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you not only support the growth of this work, but also help others discover practical wisdom that can change their lives. And remember, every small step you take towards building charisma and emotional intelligence adds up to a bigger transformation. Chapter 7: The Magnetic Power of Confidence. Imagine walking into a room full of people you've never met before. Some people immediately capture attention without saying a single word. Their presence fills the space, their posture speaks louder than their words, and when they finally do speak, people lean in to listen. What you're seeing isn't arrogance, it's authentic confidence. In this chapter, we are going to explore what makes confidence so magnetic, why arrogance pushes people away, and how you can build authentic confidence in your own life through preparation and self-awareness. By the end, you'll have a simple but powerful tool that you can practice before every interaction to increase your confidence effortlessly. The difference between arrogance and authentic confidence. Confidence is like a magnet. It draws people toward you. Arrogance, however, acts like a repellent. It pushes people away. Let's make this distinction crystal clear. Authentic confidence is rooted in self-belief and competence. It's quiet yet strong. It doesn't need to boast because it speaks through actions, not empty words. A confident person walks into a room with calm assurance, making others feel comfortable in their presence. On the other hand, arrogance is rooted in insecurity. It hides behind pride, superiority, or the need to dominate. An arrogant person may speak loudly, cut others off, or dismiss ideas, but deep down, this comes from a fear of not being good enough. A historical example of authentic confidence is Queen Elizabeth I of England. In a time when women were rarely seen as leaders, she led with grace, intelligence, and authority. When she spoke to her troops before the Spanish Armada, her words carried not arrogance but a quiet certainty that inspired loyalty and courage. That is authentic confidence, rooted in service and assurance, not domination. Arrogance, however, often leads to downfall. Think of leaders throughout history who overestimated their power, dismissed wise counsel, and ended up losing everything. Their downfall wasn't because of lack of talent, but because arrogance blinded them from growth. The takeaway here is simple. Confidence uplifts others, arrogance suppresses them. Confidence invites people in, arrogance shuts them out. Building self-belief through preparation. One of the biggest secrets of confidence is this. Confidence is preparation put into practice. Think about it. A musician walks onto stage to perform in front of thousands. If they haven't practiced, they will feel nervous, insecure, and shaky. But if they've rehearsed the song 100 times, their body and mind know what to do. Confidence flows naturally. This is true in every aspect of life. Whether you're preparing for a meeting, giving a presentation, going on a date, or attending a social event. Preparation is the soil in which confidence grows. World leaders have always understood this. Abraham Lincoln, for example, was famous for spending hours preparing his speeches. He wasn't naturally the most eloquent speaker, but his thorough preparation gave him confidence to stand before crowds and deliver words that shaped history. Your preparation doesn't need to be complicated. It could mean rehearsing your key points before a presentation, reading a little extra before an interview, practicing small talk questions before a networking event. When you prepare, you're telling yourself, I am ready. And readiness naturally builds confidence. Developing self-awareness. While preparation fuels confidence, self-awareness keeps it grounded. Self-awareness is the ability to see yourself clearly, your strengths, your weaknesses, your emotions, and the way you affect others. A confident person knows they are not perfect, but instead of hiding weaknesses, they accept them and build on their strengths. This balance keeps them humble yet powerful. Take Angela Merkel, the former Chancellor of Germany, as an example. She was not known for fiery speeches or dramatic gestures. Instead, she was respected worldwide for her calm, measured confidence. She had deep self-awareness. She knew her strengths in negotiation, patience, and analysis. She didn't try to be someone she wasn't. And that authenticity made her one of the most influential leaders of her time. Self-awareness helps you stay confident without slipping into arrogance. It teaches you when to speak and when to listen, when to lead and when to let others shine, when to push forward and when to step back. In short, self-awareness keeps your confidence magnetic, not overbearing. A simple but powerful practice. Now let's put this into action. You're going to do something simple but deeply effective, affirmation practice. Before your next social interaction, write down 3 affirmations of your strengths. For example, I am a good listener, and people feel valued when they talk to me. I have knowledge and experience that can help others. I bring positive energy into the room. Then, repeat these affirmations out loud to yourself before entering a conversation, a meeting, or even a phone call. Why does this work? Because your mind often focuses on fear. What if I mess up? What if I don't belong here? But affirmations redirect your thoughts to your strengths. They remind you of what you already have. This simple ritual conditions your brain to walk into situations with confidence, not doubt. In the book The Confidence Code by Katty Kay and Claire Shipman, the authors write, confidence is not about knowing you will succeed, but about being ready to try. That's powerful, isn't it? True confidence isn't about perfection or guarantees. It's about stepping forward with courage, even when you don't know the outcome. Key takeaways for you. Confidence and arrogance are not the same. Confidence attracts, arrogance repels. Preparation builds confidence. The more prepared you are, the more secure you feel. Self-awareness grounds confidence. It makes you authentic and relatable. Affirmations reinforce your strengths. A simple 30-second practice can boost your confidence before any interaction. True confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about being willing to try. As you move forward, remember this. Confidence is not about being louder, richer, or more powerful than anyone else. It's about being comfortable in your own skin and making others feel comfortable too. That's the kind of confidence that makes you magnetic. So I challenge you, right after listening to this chapter, grab a pen, write down 3 affirmations of your strengths, and repeat them before your next interaction. Try it for the next week, and watch how people begin to respond differently to you. And if this message inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs a boost of confidence, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss another life-changing audiobook. Confidence is contagious, and by building yours, you'll inspire it in others. Chapter 8, Storytelling for Influence. Welcome to Chapter 8 of Charisma Mastery. How to influence without trying too hard. Today, we dive into one of the most powerful tools of charisma, storytelling. Think about it. What do you remember most from childhood? Chances are, it's not a list of facts your teachers gave you. Instead, it's the stories. Stories your parents told you before bed. Stories your community passed down. Stories that made you laugh, cry, or imagine a world beyond your own. Why? Because stories do something facts alone cannot. They bypass the brain's defenses and go straight into the heart. Stories make people listen, remember, and connect. And if you want to influence others without trying too hard, you must master the art of storytelling. Why stories work? The human brain is wired for stories. Neuroscientists tell us that when we hear facts, only one part of our brain lights up. But when we hear a story, multiple regions activate. The language centers, the sensory areas, even the parts that trigger emotion. In simple terms, a story allows the listener to experience the message, not just understand it. That's why world leaders, business pioneers, and great teachers don't simply deliver speeches. They tell stories. Take Abraham Lincoln, for example. He was not the most polished speaker in terms of voice or appearance, yet his ability to weave personal anecdotes, parables, and metaphors made him deeply persuasive. His Gettysburg Address wasn't long, but it painted a picture so vivid that people remembered it long after the words were spoken. Or think of Queen Elizabeth the first centuries ago. Facing a fearful army before battle, she told a story about her identity, saying she had the body of a weak and feeble woman, but the heart and stomach of a king. That story didn't just reassure her soldiers, it transformed their fear into courage. These leaders understood that facts inform, but stories transform. How to structure a simple, compelling story. Now, you might be thinking, but I'm not a world leader. How can I use storytelling in my everyday life? The good news is, you don't need to be a famous figure to tell stories that inspire. You just need a simple structure that works every time. Let me break it down for you. Every story has 3 parts. The hook, this is the opening. Something that grabs attention. It can be a question, a surprising statement, or a vivid description. Example. I once failed at something I thought I would be great at. The struggle. This is where you share the challenge, the conflict, or the turning point. The struggle is what makes the audience lean in because everyone can relate to difficulties. Example. I was nervous, unprepared, and completely lost when it mattered most. The resolution. This is the lesson, the breakthrough, or the transformation. It ties the story back to a bigger idea. Example. That moment taught me that preparation is more powerful than confidence alone. Put simply, hook, struggle, resolution. This formula works whether you're telling a story to a colleague, giving a presentation, or motivating your team. Let's take Martin Luther King Jr. as an example. His famous, I Have a Dream speech wasn't a lecture on policy. It was a story. He painted a picture of children playing together, of valleys rising and mountains falling, of justice flowing like a mighty stream. He didn't just say what he wanted. He made his audience see it, feel it, believe it. That's the secret. The more you show through story, the less you have to push. People naturally lean in. As author Robert McKee said in his book Story, Substance, Structure, Style, and the Principles of Screenwriting, stories are the most powerful way to put ideas into the world today. It's true. If you want to share an idea, you could hand someone a list of facts. Or you could wrap those facts in a story, and suddenly, your message is unforgettable. Your action step. Now it's your turn. I want you to craft a simple 2-minute personal story that reveals a value or lesson. Here's how to do it. Pick one value, like honesty, resilience, or kindness. Think of a small moment in your life where that value was tested. Use the structure. Hook, struggle, resolution. Keep it short. 2 minutes is enough. For example, hook. I once thought asking for help made me weak. Struggle. But then I faced a situation I couldn't handle alone. I struggled, I failed, and I nearly gave up. Resolution. When I finally asked for help, not only did I succeed, but I realized that true strength is admitting when you can't do it all by yourself. That's it. Simple, powerful, and unforgettable. Key takeaways for you. Stories connect faster and deeper than facts. A good story doesn't have to be long, it just has to be clear. The 3-part structure, hook, struggle, resolution, works everywhere. You don't need a dramatic life to tell compelling stories. Even small moments can reveal big truths. Influence without trying too hard means sharing stories that carry values, not just information. So as you move forward, remember this. The world is filled with noise, with people trying to push their opinions, with endless data and information. But you can stand out simply by telling a story. A story makes people stop. A story makes people feel. And a story makes people remember. So go ahead, craft your story today. Share it with someone. And watch how they lean in, how their eyes light up, how the connection deepens without you forcing anything. That is the power of storytelling for influence. And before we move on, don't forget, if this audiobook is bringing you value, like, share, and subscribe so that more people can discover the art of charisma and personal influence. You never know whose story might change a life. Chapter 9. Humor and Playfulness. Let's talk about one of the most underestimated elements of charisma, humor and playfulness. Have you ever noticed how a tense room suddenly shifts the moment someone cracks a gentle, lighthearted comment? It's almost magical. Shoulders relax, eyes brighten, and people lean in closer. Humor isn't just about getting laughs, it's about creating a connection. When used well, it breaks tension, dissolves barriers, and makes you instantly more approachable. The truth is, humor is one of the fastest ways to increase your charisma. Why? Because laughter is a universal language. No matter what culture, background, or generation someone comes from, laughter resonates. It communicates safety, warmth, and openness. And people naturally gravitate toward those who make them feel good. But here's the key. Charismatic humor isn't about being the funniest person in the room. You don't need to be a stand-up comedian. In fact, forcing jokes usually backfires. What really works is lightheartedness, a playful attitude that makes people feel comfortable and reminds them not to take life too seriously. Why laughter breaks tension and increases charisma. Let's imagine a world leader stepping into a press conference at a difficult moment. The atmosphere is heavy, filled with skepticism. Instead of diving straight into the serious speech, the leader pauses, smiles, and makes a witty yet gentle remark about the situation. Not dismissing it, but showing humanity. The room shifts. Reporters laugh softly, some even nod in relief. Tension breaks, and suddenly the leader is no longer just a figure of authority. They're human, relatable, and magnetic. This is the power of humor. It doesn't erase problems, but it makes people feel safe enough to engage with you. History is full of examples. Think about leaders like John F. Kennedy. He had a sharp wit that made people feel at ease. During one of his debates, he was asked about his youth and inexperience. Instead of getting defensive, he smiled and said, "Experience is important, yes. But sometimes fresh vision is even more important." The audience laughed, and in that moment, he diffused criticism while also highlighting his strength. That blend of wit and confidence made him memorable. Or consider Queen Elizabeth II. Though often seen as formal, she occasionally allowed her playful humor to shine through, especially in small interactions with the public. During a major event, someone told her they hadn't expected to see her in person. With a smile, she replied, "Well, I hope I'm not a disappointment." That light remark instantly disarmed the tension, made her more relatable, and strengthened her charisma. Humor, when done with warmth, doesn't diminish authority, it enhances it. How to use light humor without trying too hard. Now, here's the mistake many people make. They think charisma through humor means telling jokes. But charisma isn't about memorizing punchlines. It's about attitude. Let me give you a simple formula. Observation plus playfulness equals charismatic humor. Instead of trying to be funny, notice something light about the situation and share it warmly. For example, if you're at a meeting and the projector refuses to work, instead of groaning or getting frustrated, you might say, "Well, looks like even the projector wants a coffee break." People will chuckle, not because it's the funniest line in the world, but because you chose playfulness over frustration. Another example. Imagine you're at a dinner with strangers and someone spills a drink. Instead of creating awkward silence, you might say, "Ah, now it feels like a proper party." Again, it's not a rehearsed joke, it's light, human, and it shifts the energy of the room. This is what separates charismatic humor from forced humor. It's spontaneous, it's light, and it never makes anyone feel small. In his book The Levity Effect by Adrian Gostick and Scott Christopher, the authors explain how leaders who use humor build stronger teams, reduce stress, and inspire loyalty. They found that humor, when respectful and playful, isn't just entertainment, it's leadership. People trust leaders who can balance seriousness with moments of lightness. So here's the golden rule. Charismatic humor never punches down. It doesn't embarrass or mock. Instead, it lifts people up, breaks tension, and invites connection. Action step. Here's your challenge for this week. In your next conversation, instead of forcing a joke, share a light-hearted observation. Look around, notice something playful in the moment, and express it warmly. For instance, if you're in a waiting room where everyone is glued to their phones, you might say, "I think our phones are having a better conversation than we are." People will smile, maybe even laugh, and suddenly the room feels lighter. Try this once a day. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Key takeaways for you. Laughter is universal. It breaks tension, builds trust, and makes you instantly more charismatic. You don't need to be a comedian. Charismatic humor is about being lighthearted, not telling perfect jokes. Observation plus playfulness equals charisma. Look for small, light details in the moment and share them. Humor never humiliates. Always aim to uplift, not embarrass. Practice makes natural. The more you lean into playfulness, the easier it becomes to use humor without trying too hard. Remember this, humor is a bridge. It connects you to people faster than logic, authority, or even skill. When you show others that you can be light, even in serious moments, you communicate strength, not weakness. Because it takes true confidence to laugh, and even more confidence to invite others to laugh with you. So the next time you step into a room, don't just think about what you'll say or how you'll stand. Ask yourself, how can I bring lightness into this moment? That's where charisma comes alive. And before we wrap up, if you found this chapter valuable, don't forget to like this audiobook, share it with someone who could use a little more charisma in their life, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next powerful lesson. Because together we're building not just knowledge, but transformation. Chapter 10, The Art of Mystery and Curiosity. Have you ever noticed that the people who draw the most attention are not always the loudest, the flashiest, or the ones who reveal every detail of their lives? Think about it. There's something magnetic about someone who leaves you wondering, what's their story? What don't I know yet? That's the power of mystery and curiosity. Charisma isn't just about presence and likability. It's also about leaving space for people's imagination. When you don't reveal everything at once, you invite others to lean in, to ask questions, to stay engaged. Mystery makes people pay attention, because we, as human beings, are naturally wired to fill in the blanks. The French writer Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, author of The Little Prince, once wrote, "What makes the desert beautiful is that somewhere it hides a well." The same applies to charisma. It's not always about what you show, but about what you hold back. Now let's break this down. Why mystery draws people in. Imagine sitting in a room where someone is telling a story. One person rushes through every single detail, leaving no surprises, no suspense. Another person tells the same story, but pauses, leaves out a few details, and lets curiosity build. Which storyteller are you more drawn to? The second one, of course. This is how great leaders, artists, and thinkers keep people engaged. They know that revealing too much too soon can kill intrigue, but carefully revealing information keeps people wanting more. Take Queen Elizabeth I of England, for example. She was admired not just for her authority, but for the way she balanced openness with mystery. She didn't allow everyone full access to her thoughts and decisions. Instead, she maintained an air of enigma that made others respect her more deeply. People always wondered what she was really thinking, and that gave her a natural presence of power. Or consider leaders like Charles de Gaulle of France. He was known for his reserved yet commanding presence. He often spoke with just enough to make his vision clear, but never so much that he lost the sense of authority and curiosity around him. People leaned in, wanting to understand more. Balancing openness with intrigue. Of course, being mysterious doesn't mean being secretive to the point of being cold or distant. Too much mystery, and people might think you are hiding something or being insincere. The goal is balance. You want to share enough so that people feel connected to you, but not so much that they feel they already know everything. Think of it as telling a story in chapters. If you give away the ending in chapter 1, why would anyone keep reading? For example, when a leader like Angela Merkel was Chancellor of Germany, she was often described as cautious in her words. She didn't rush to give opinions on every matter. Instead, she let her actions and carefully chosen words speak. This created respect. People leaned in to hear what she would say when she finally spoke. In personal life, it works the same way. Let's say you're meeting someone new. If you unload your entire life story in the first conversation, there's no space for curiosity. But if you share one meaningful experience and leave out a detail, you create a natural bridge for them to ask you more. That's how relationships, personal and professional, deepen. Picture this. You're at a networking event. Someone asks you, "So, what do you do?" You could answer, "I'm a teacher. I teach history." End of story. Or, you could say, "I work with stories from the past, but in a way that shapes how people see the present." Now the person is curious. They'll ask, "What do you mean by that?" See the difference? By leaving a little mystery, you've invited them to engage further. Action step. Here's today's action step for you. The next time you share a story, intentionally hold back one interesting detail. Don't lie, don't manipulate. Simply withhold one piece until the other person asks. For instance, instead of saying, "I had an amazing trip where I climbed the highest mountain in the region," you could say, "I had an amazing trip, and something happened there that completely changed how I see challenges." Pause. Let them ask, "What happened?" That pause is where curiosity lives. All around the world, the most influential people are those who understood timing. They reveal enough to inspire, but leave space for others to imagine. Whether it's a statesman choosing words carefully, an artist unveiling only part of their process, or a thinker who answers questions with more questions, their mystery becomes part of their charisma. And the truth is, we all have this ability. You don't have to be a world leader to practice it. You just need to master the rhythm of revealing and withholding, of sharing but not oversharing. Key takeaways for you. Mystery fuels curiosity. People lean in when they sense there's more to discover. Balance is key. Too much openness kills intrigue. Too much secrecy kills trust. Be intentional with your words. Speak in a way that invites questions. Hold back one detail. Create space for curiosity in your conversations. Charisma grows in what you don't reveal immediately. It's about timing, patience, and confidence. Charisma is not about being the loudest person in the room. It's often about being the person who leaves others wondering, what else is there to know about them? When you master the art of mystery, people are drawn to you naturally. They want to hear more, learn more, and stay in your presence. So remember this, don't rush to reveal your entire story. Share enough to connect, but let curiosity do the rest. And as always, if you're finding value in this audiobook, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. By doing so, you're not only helping this channel grow, but you're also committing yourself to becoming more charismatic, more influential, and more magnetic every single day. Chapter 11, Building Natural Authority. Authority. The word alone often makes people think of dominance, control, or someone barking out orders. But true authority, the kind that makes others willingly follow and respect you, doesn't come from aggression. It comes from credibility, calmness, and consistency. And that is the essence of natural authority, influence without force. Think about the leaders, mentors, or even colleagues you admire most. Were they loud, aggressive, and intimidating? Or were they calm, confident, and consistent in their actions? More often than not, it's the second type that inspires loyalty. Let's break this down together. Authority without aggression. Authority without aggression is not about demanding obedience. It's about earning respect. There's a key difference here. Obedience can be temporary, but respect lasts. When people respect you, they follow you not because they have to, but because they want to. One powerful example of this is Angela Merkel, former Chancellor of Germany. She was often described as soft-spoken, cautious, and measured. Yet, for over a decade, she was considered one of the most powerful leaders in the world. Why? Because her authority didn't come from shouting or threatening. It came from her calmness in crises, her ability to think clearly, and her consistency in decision-making. Authority without aggression is about showing that you are reliable, balanced, and not easily shaken. When people see you as steady, they naturally gravitate toward your leadership. Credibility. The foundation of authority. Credibility is the currency of natural authority. Without it, everything else crumbles. Credibility comes from competence, knowing your craft, honing your skills, and showing through your actions that you can be trusted. Consider Lee Kuan Yew, the founding Prime Minister of Singapore. He transformed a small, struggling city-state into one of the most prosperous economies in the world. His credibility came not just from vision, but from competence. He studied, understood global economics, and applied knowledge practically. People respected him because he knew what he was doing and backed it up with results. As the author Stephen Covey wrote in The Speed of Trust, trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It's the foundational principle that holds all relationships. Credibility builds that trust. Without credibility, authority collapses. Calmness, the invisible strength. Let's talk about calmness. In a world full of noise, the calm leader stands out. Imagine two leaders addressing a crisis. One is frantic, shouting, pointing fingers. The other is composed, steady, reassuring. Which one would you trust more? One striking example is Jacinda Ardern, former Prime Minister of New Zealand. During crises, her calm and compassionate communication won the trust of her people. She did not command authority with fear. She commanded it with empathy and composure. That's what calmness does. It reassures others that they are in safe hands. Calmness signals control. It tells people, I am not shaken. I can handle this. And that sense of security makes people trust you even more. Consistency, the anchor of authority. Finally, consistency. Imagine someone who makes promises today and breaks them tomorrow. Would you trust their authority? Probably not. But someone who shows up day after day, living their values and following through on their word, that's someone who commands respect. Take Abraham Lincoln as an example. He faced one of the most divided times in history, yet his consistency in values, justice, unity, and integrity helped keep a fractured nation together. People followed him not because he demanded it, but because he embodied stability when everything else felt unstable. Consistency builds a reputation. Over time, people don't just see what you say, they watch what you do. And when your actions align with your words again and again, you become a natural authority in their eyes. Competence and generosity of knowledge. Here's something most people overlook. Authority is not just about knowing, it's about sharing. When you generously share your knowledge, people don't see you as arrogant, they see you as valuable. Think of Malala Yousafzai, the young Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Her influence doesn't come from aggression or dominance, but from competence, her knowledge about education rights, and her generosity in sharing that knowledge with the world. Her willingness to give her voice, her ideas, and her advocacy freely has earned her global respect. When you share what you know, you create impact. And impact is what builds authority. Action step. So, here's your action step for this chapter. Share one useful tip, piece of advice, or resource with someone in your field this week. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's a book recommendation. Maybe it's a tool you use. Maybe it's a lesson you learned the hard way. By sharing, you position yourself as someone generous and competent. Over time, this builds your reputation as an authority others can rely on. Key takeaways for you. Authority without aggression is more powerful than authority through dominance. Respect lasts longer than fear. Credibility comes from competence, knowing your craft and proving it through action. Calmness is invisible strength. A steady presence builds trust in uncertain times. Consistency turns words into reputation. Showing up the same way again and again builds reliability. Generosity of knowledge multiplies your influence. The more you share, the more valuable you become. Remember this, natural authority is not about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the one people look to when it matters most. It's about showing competence, calmness, and consistency in such a way that others trust your leadership without you ever needing to shout. So this week, take that action step. Share your knowledge. Lead with calmness. Be consistent. And most importantly, build your credibility brick by brick. That's how you create a presence that influences without effort. If you're finding this audiobook helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. That way, you'll not only stay updated with upcoming chapters, but also help others discover these insights for their own personal growth. Chapter 12. Influence without persuasion. Think about the most magnetic people you've ever met. Did they try to convince you with endless arguments? Did they push their opinions on you? Or did their calm presence, their consistency, and the way they lived speak louder than their words? This is the art of influence without persuasion. It's not about being louder. It's not about forcing people to accept your ideas. True influence flows from example and energy. When people see you live what you believe, when they sense alignment between your words and actions, they naturally lean in and follow. History gives us countless examples of leaders who shaped movements, not by shouting or arguing, but by living their truth. Take Mother Teresa, for instance. She didn't go around trying to persuade the world to care for the poor through speeches alone. Her influence came from the way she quietly served. Her presence in the slums, feeding the hungry, washing wounds, and comforting the dying, was her message. People saw her work and felt compelled to join her cause. Her example was more powerful than 1,000 debates. Or consider Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't just talk about peace and justice, he embodied it. Even in the face of hostility, he demonstrated restraint, compassion, and vision. His famous marches and speeches worked not because he was persuasive in the traditional sense, but because his life was aligned with his message. This is the lesson. If you want to influence, become a living example of the values you stand for. Energy speaks louder than words. Human beings are deeply sensitive to energy, whether we realize it or not. You've probably walked into a room where two people just had an argument. Even if no one says a word, you can feel the tension in the air. Likewise, you can feel warmth, trust, and confidence when someone radiates it. This is why influence is not only about what you do, it's about the energy you carry. A calm, grounded presence can make people trust you. A smile, a tone of reassurance, or even silence at the right moment can shift the atmosphere. Maya Angelou once said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." That quote captures the essence of influence without persuasion. It's not about the perfect argument, it's about the emotional imprint you leave behind. Why people follow trust, not pressure. Let's be honest, nobody likes to be pressured. The more someone pushes their views on us, the more we resist. But when we trust someone, we open ourselves to their guidance, sometimes without them even asking. Think of Abraham Lincoln. He was not known for overpowering debates or forceful persuasion. Instead, he built trust through integrity and humility. He listened more than he spoke. He acknowledged the opinions of others, even those who opposed him. People followed Lincoln because they trusted his character, not because he forced them to agree. Or take Queen Elizabeth II. For decades, she held an extraordinary level of influence without fiery speeches or political power. Her consistency, discipline, and quiet dedication earned respect worldwide. She showed that sometimes the strongest form of leadership is steady example, not persuasion. Trust is the currency of influence. Without it, persuasion feels manipulative. With it, influence becomes natural. Influence through demonstration. In the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, one principle stands out. What you do has far greater impact than what you say. Covey emphasizes that trust and influence are built on character and consistency. If you tell people to be kind, but you're rude when no one's looking, they won't follow you. If you speak about discipline but show no self-control, your words lose power. But if you quietly demonstrate kindness, discipline, or resilience in your everyday actions, people notice. They may not even say anything, but deep inside, they are learning from you. This is why the best way to influence your children, your colleagues, your community, or even strangers, is to demonstrate what you believe. Action step. Here's your practical step for today. Instead of convincing, lead by demonstrating what you believe. If you want people to be more respectful, start by modeling respect. If you want to inspire discipline, let others see your consistency in action. If you want to encourage optimism, carry a hopeful outlook, even in difficulty. Pick one value you deeply believe in, and commit to living it so clearly that others see it without you needing to say a word. Imagine you're part of a team at work. 2 colleagues want everyone to work harder. One of them gives endless speeches about productivity, constantly reminding others what they should do. The other simply shows up early, stays focused, delivers excellent work, and supports others quietly. Who has more influence? Almost always, it's the one who demonstrates rather than demands. Their example is living proof of their message. Key takeaways for you. Influence without persuasion is about presence, example, and energy. People are drawn to authenticity, not pressure. Energy speaks louder than arguments. People remember how you make them feel. Trust is the foundation of lasting influence. Demonstration is the most powerful form of leadership. Live what you want to teach. You don't have to force influence. You don't have to push or persuade. If you live with integrity, carry calm energy, and consistently demonstrate what you believe, people will naturally follow. Influence will not feel like effort, it will flow. Remember, the world doesn't need more loud persuaders. It needs more authentic examples. So, my challenge to you is this. Pick one area of your life where you want to lead by example. Show it, don't say it. Watch how your quiet consistency changes the way people see you. If this chapter has given you value, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button, share this audiobook with someone who needs it, and make sure you subscribe to this channel so you won't miss the next powerful lesson on charisma mastery. Together, let's build a world where influence flows naturally, without force. Chapter 13, Charisma in Difficult Conversations. Have you ever been in a conversation where your heart starts racing, your palms sweat, and your voice wants to rise just to defend yourself? We've all been there. Difficult conversations can feel like a battle, but they don't have to be. Charisma isn't about being perfect. It's about staying composed when the pressure is high. In fact, how you handle conflict can make people respect you even more than when things are easy. Let's dive into how charismatic people approach difficult conversations with calm, grace, and quiet authority. Staying calm under pressure. One of the greatest tests of charisma is not how you shine when everyone loves you, but how you respond when someone challenges you. Think about moments in your own life when someone criticized you unfairly, or when an argument seemed unavoidable. Did you find yourself getting defensive, raising your voice, or shutting down? That's the natural human response. But charismatic leaders take a different path. They breathe, they pause, and they lower the emotional temperature instead of raising it. Take the example of Angela Merkel, former Chancellor of Germany. She was known not for fiery speeches or dramatic gestures, but for her calm, methodical presence, even in heated debates with world leaders. When others grew impatient or confrontational, Merkel leaned into silence, measured words, and a steady gaze. People respected her not because she overpowered the room, but because she controlled herself. Her calmness influenced the room more than shouting ever could. Here's the key. When you stay calm under pressure, you don't just protect your dignity. You also signal to others that you are in control. People naturally trust those who remain composed when things get tough. Handling criticism and conflict without losing presence. Let's face it, nobody enjoys being criticized. But charismatic individuals don't see criticism as an attack. They see it as an opportunity to grow or, at the very least, to show their character. Consider Abraham Lincoln. He faced constant criticism, not just from political opponents, but also from his own allies. Instead of lashing out, Lincoln developed a reputation for listening first. In fact, he once said, "I don't like that man. I must get to know him better." This quote, which can be found in various biographies of Lincoln, reveals a powerful mindset. Rather than seeing critics as enemies, Lincoln saw them as potential teachers. His ability to stay present, to engage instead of retreat, made him one of the most respected leaders in history. So, how do you handle criticism without losing your presence? Listen fully before responding. Don't cut the other person off. Acknowledge their perspective. You don't have to agree, but showing you heard them diffuses defensiveness. Respond with clarity, not anger. Lower your tone, slow your pace, and speak with intention. Remember, presence isn't about dominating others. It's about owning your space without being shaken. Why lowering your voice is a charismatic power move. Here's a counterintuitive truth. In difficult conversations, raising your voice almost always makes you less persuasive. Think of it like this. When you shout, you show that the other person has the power to pull you off balance. But when you lower your voice, you send a signal of authority, calmness, and inner strength. Let's bring in another world figure, Aung San Suu Kyi, the Burmese Nobel Peace Prize laureate. During her long years of house arrest and political struggle, she was never known for aggression or loudness. Instead, her soft, measured voice carried more influence than armies of men with raised voices. People leaned in to hear her. That is charisma. Lowering your voice isn't weakness, it's quiet dominance. It makes people listen more carefully. It makes them respect you more deeply. Imagine you're in a work meeting, and a colleague criticizes your idea harshly. Your instinct might be to defend yourself quickly, maybe even raise your tone to prove your point. But instead, take a slow breath. Look at them directly, and say in a calm, measured tone, "I hear your concern. Let's explore how we might address it." Notice the difference. You didn't fight back. You didn't lose presence. You transformed conflict into collaboration. That's charisma in action. Action step for you. Here's your challenge. In your next disagreement, instead of raising your voice, lower it. Speak slower. Add pauses. You'll notice something fascinating. People will adjust to your calmness. The tension drops, and you gain quiet control of the conversation. Try this for 1 week and reflect on how others respond. You'll be surprised at the respect you earn simply by lowering your tone. Key takeaways for you. Charisma is tested in conflict, not comfort. How you handle pressure defines your influence. Staying calm is contagious. When you control your emotions, others mirror your composure. Criticism is an opportunity. Listen, acknowledge, and respond with presence, not defensiveness. Lowering your voice is a power move. It shows control, demands respect, and builds authority. Charismatic presence is about owning yourself, not overpowering others. Think of charisma as your shield and your sword in difficult conversations. The shield is your calmness. It protects you from being dragged into negativity. The sword is your words, measured, thoughtful, and deliberate. Together, they make you unshakable. The next time you're in conflict, ask yourself, do I want to win this argument, or do I want to win respect? True charisma wins both, not by force, but by presence. If this chapter spoke to you, I want you to take a moment right now. Like this video, share it with someone who might benefit from learning the art of charisma in difficult conversations, and subscribe for more insights on mastering presence, influence, and personal growth. Together, we're building a community of people who lead with quiet strength. Chapter 14. Sustaining Charisma Daily. Imagine this. You walk into a room, and people can feel your energy before you even say a word. Some days, you radiate confidence, calmness, and warmth. Other days, you feel drained, distracted, and even invisible. What's the difference? It often comes down to your daily habits. Charisma is not just what you say in the moment. It's what you build behind the scenes, through your lifestyle, your mindset, and your balance. If you want to sustain charisma every single day, you need to look at the habits that drain you versus the ones that boost you. Think of it like a battery. Every interaction either charges your presence or depletes it. The key is learning how to keep your charisma battery full. Habits that drain charisma. Let's start with the habits that silently steal charisma from you. Lack of sleep, we've all been there. After a late night, you wake up groggy, and even the smallest conversation feels like a burden. You can't focus, your voice lacks energy, and your body language slouches. When you're sleep-deprived, your ability to connect with others drops drastically. Research in psychology has shown that poor sleep lowers emotional regulation, meaning you get irritated faster and miss subtle cues from people. Chronic stress doesn't just live in your mind. It shows up in your body and your tone. If you've ever spoken to someone who seemed rushed or constantly tense, you know how draining it feels to be around them. Stress makes your charisma shrink because instead of being present with others, your mind is racing elsewhere. Negative thinking, we often underestimate the impact of self-talk. If your inner voice constantly says, "I'm not good enough," it leaks into how others perceive you. Your body closes off, your eyes avoid contact, and your presence dims. People may not know what you're thinking, but they can sense it. Habits that boost charisma. Now let's look at the habits that feed charisma. Habits that give you the energy and presence to shine consistently. Rest and renewal. Getting good sleep is not just about health, it's about influence. World leaders like Jacinda Ardern, former Prime Minister of New Zealand, often spoke about the discipline of rest, even in high-pressure times. Why? Because renewal gives you clarity, patience, and energy. People feel your charisma when your mind and body are fully charged. Gratitude is magnetic. When you are thankful for the small things, you naturally radiate warmth. There's a reason why people love being around those who appreciate them. It's not forced, it's genuine. Leaders like Dalai Lama embody this principle. Despite facing challenges, his daily practice of gratitude and compassion makes him approachable and deeply influential. Emotional balance. Charisma requires inner balance. If you're always reacting, you can't influence effectively. Leaders like Angela Merkel, Germany's former chancellor, were known not for fiery speeches, but for calm, steady presence even in times of crisis. Her balanced energy made her a trusted figure worldwide. That calmness is charisma in action. It reassures people. The role of self-care and inner balance. Let's pause here. You may be thinking, so, is charisma just about sleeping, smiling, and staying calm? Not exactly. It's deeper than that. Charisma is about the energy you bring into every room. And that energy is shaped by how you treat yourself daily. If you neglect yourself, your charisma will fade, no matter how many techniques you practice. Self-care is not selfish. It's preparation for influence. Imagine an athlete who never trains, but expects to perform well in a big match. That's what happens when you ignore your daily habits. You can't just turn charisma on in the moment. You must fuel it consistently. There's a book called The Power of Full Engagement by Jim Loehr and Tony Schwartz. In it, they explain that managing energy, not time, is the key to high performance. They argue that energy comes from physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual renewal. If you think about it, that's the exact recipe for charisma. When you're rested, grateful, mentally sharp, and emotionally steady, your presence naturally draws people in. Action step: the 5-minute stillness practice. Now let's make this practical. Here's an exercise you can start today. Before any important social interaction, a meeting, a presentation, or even a casual conversation, give yourself 5 minutes of stillness. Here's how. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. As you breathe, let go of racing thoughts. Just focus on your breath. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the present. After 5 minutes, open your eyes and carry that calm energy into your interaction. This may sound simple, but it's powerful. That moment of stillness resets your energy, calms your nerves, and makes your presence stronger. People will notice, even if they don't know why. Think of Aung San Suu Kyi, the Burmese leader who, despite years of house arrest, carried an aura of calm resilience that inspired millions. Her charisma didn't come from constant speaking or grand gestures. It came from her inner balance, her ability to remain still, centered, and unshaken. That's the kind of charisma you build through daily self-care and mindful practices. Key takeaways for you. Sleep, stress, and negative thinking drain charisma. They rob you of presence and connection. Rest, gratitude, and balance fuel charisma. They give you consistent energy and influence. Self-care is the foundation of charisma. You can't pour into others if you're running on empty. 5 minutes of stillness before interactions can transform your presence. So let me ask you, are you fueling or draining your charisma daily? Every habit is a choice. Every moment of rest, every word of gratitude, every deep breath is a deposit into your charisma account. Charisma is not about trying too hard. It's about showing up fully, rested, balanced, and genuine. When you do that, you don't just influence people. You inspire them. If this chapter gave you something valuable, an insight, a practice, or a reminder, then take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss the next chapter in this journey of charisma mastery. Remember, every day is a chance to fuel your presence. Choose wisely. Chapter 15, Becoming Effortlessly Charismatic. Imagine walking into a room and people naturally gravitate towards you. Not because you're the loudest, not because you're trying to impress, but because something about your presence feels magnetic. That, right there, is the essence of effortless charisma. Throughout this audiobook, we've explored presence, confidence, likability, and authority. We've studied how charisma is not a gift you're born with, but a skill you can nurture. Now, in this final chapter, it's time to put it all together, to show you how to embody charisma so naturally that it becomes part of who you are, not something you try to perform. Let's begin with the most important truth. True charisma is about authenticity, not performance. Authenticity over performance. When people think of charisma, they often imagine someone who can captivate a crowd, deliver a flawless speech, or win over strangers with charm. But here's the secret. Charisma isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about showing up as the truest version of yourself in a way that makes others feel seen, heard, and valued. Consider Queen Rania of Jordan. Her elegance and poise inspire millions, but what makes her truly charismatic isn't her position or appearance. It's her authenticity. She speaks openly about education, compassion, and the role of women in society with sincerity that resonates deeply. People connect with her because she speaks from the heart, not from a script. This is the difference between trying to be charismatic and actually being charismatic. When you try too hard, people sense it. But when you are genuine, your charisma feels effortless. The 4 pillars of effortless charisma. Let's bring everything we've learned into 4 key pillars. Presence, being fully engaged with the people around you. Charisma starts with presence. When you give someone your undivided attention, you instantly make them feel important. It's not about having the right words. It's about showing up with your full energy. Confidence, trusting yourself without arrogance. Confidence isn't about thinking you're better than others. It's about knowing your worth and carrying yourself with quiet assurance. Like Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, who led through crises with calm, empathetic confidence, winning respect globally without raising her voice. Likability, making people feel good in your presence. People don't remember every word you say, but they always remember how you made them feel. Likability comes from empathy, humor, and kindness. Even a simple smile can soften hearts and open doors. Authority, inspiring trust and respect. Authority doesn't mean control or dominance. True authority is when people look to you for guidance because of your wisdom, consistency, and integrity. Think of Angela Merkel, the former Chancellor of Germany, whose quiet but steady leadership made her one of the most respected figures in global politics. She wasn't flashy, but her authority was undeniable. Let's bring this to life with a story. There's a moment in history when Pope John Paul II visited countries where people were oppressed and silenced. He didn't shout, he didn't demand. He simply stood with calm dignity, spoke softly about hope and freedom, and millions felt empowered just by his presence. His charisma didn't come from loud performances, but from authenticity, presence, and moral authority. This is a reminder. You don't need to be the loudest in the room to have influence. True charisma often whispers more powerfully than it shouts. Why trying too hard backfires? Think of the last time you met someone who was trying too hard to impress. Maybe they spoke too much about themselves, laughed too loudly, or exaggerated their achievements. Instead of drawing you in, it probably made you feel uncomfortable. Charisma works in the opposite way. The less you try to prove yourself, the more people sense your natural ease and confidence. Effortless charisma is magnetic because it doesn't feel forced. Building your charisma ritual. Now let's get practical. Throughout this audiobook, I've given you action steps. But as we wrap up, I want to give you one final tool, a simple charisma ritual you can commit to for the next 30 days. It could be as simple as taking a deep breath before entering a room, checking your posture, standing tall, shoulders back, relaxed face, smiling genuinely at the first person you meet. These little rituals may sound small, but they prepare your mind and body to show up with presence, confidence, and warmth. Over time, they become second nature. And when they become second nature, you stop thinking about charisma and simply become charismatic. The philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "What you are shouts so loudly in my ears that I cannot hear what you say." This quote from Emerson's essays captures charisma perfectly. It reminds us that influence comes not from words alone, but from the energy and authenticity you bring into every interaction. Putting it all together. So, let's recap. Presence makes people feel valued. Confidence makes people trust you. Likability makes people want to be around you. Authority makes people respect you. When you embody these 4 together, you don't need to try to influence others. You simply live in a way that naturally inspires them. Key takeaways for you. Charisma is not performance, it's authenticity. The 4 pillars, presence, confidence, likability, and authority, are habits you can build. Trying too hard weakens charisma. Effortless charisma comes from being genuine. Create a daily charisma ritual and practice it for 30 days. I want you to picture yourself 30 days from now. You've practiced your ritual. You've built habits of presence, confidence, and likability. You've led with quiet authority. Now imagine walking into that room again, the same one you imagined at the beginning of this chapter. This time, you don't hope people notice you. They naturally do. Not because you forced it, but because charisma has become part of who you are. That is the power of becoming effortlessly charismatic. If this audiobook has given you valuable insights, I invite you to take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you'll not only support the growth of this work, but also help others discover the tools to transform their presence and influence. Remember, charisma is not about trying too hard. It's about being your most authentic, confident, and compassionate self. And when you live that truth, you don't just influence people, you inspire them. And here we are, at the end of this journey together. You've discovered that charisma isn't about pretending, performing, or trying too hard. It's about becoming the most authentic, confident, and present version of yourself. You now have the tools to develop presence that makes others feel important, confidence that inspires trust, likability that creates deep connections, and authority that earns respect. These aren't just theories. They are practices you can apply every single day. Remember, charisma grows through small, consistent actions. Every smile, every moment of eye contact, every genuine question, every pause to listen, it all adds up. Over time, these habits stop being something you do and become a part of who you are. So as you step forward, commit to practicing your charisma ritual daily. Within 30 days, you'll notice the difference, not just in how others respond to you, but in how you feel about yourself. Thank you for listening to Charisma Mastery. If you found value in this audiobook, I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can discover these tools and begin their own journey toward effortless influence. Always remember this. True charisma isn't about being someone else. It's about being fully yourself, in a way that leaves others better than you found them. And when you live this way, you don't just influence people, you inspire them. This is your time. Step into your presence. Live your charisma, and let your influence shine.